I'm now at a point where I want to fit the piston. It's an aftermarket piston which was bought by the previous owner but has never been run. So I've been through it, I've checked that the rings are in the right orientation in terms of they are facing the correct way up, and the oil rings are correctly fitted. I've fitted one of the circlips already just to make life easier for me, but this one seems to have this weird triangular arrow which is sort of pointing towards this small orifice, but I know that the large port on these bikes is the inlet and the small is the exhaust. I have stuffed a rag around the conrod and the cam chain area so that if I drop the circlip it doesn't disappear down inside the case, which would turn out to be a bad day. I'm basically setting the cutouts of the various rings to opposite parts, or in this case in thirds. So we've got the oil seal at the bottom facing the very back. We've got, basically we've got the ring gaps here, here and here. Now this is the back of the bike. We've got the large cutout in the piston at the back. Now I've got to do is find the, where is it? It's about there. Is that it? Like it, and I'll push it right through to the clip I've already put in there. I think I'm ready to commence battle. It wasn't too bad of a job with the piston off the bike, but with it on there now, I suspect I'm going to have a bit more of a fight on my hands. This is one of those jobs that I'm not good at. I can hear everyone shouting at me. Some stuff. I've noticed on some of my videos my head tends to get in the way a lot, which is not pleasant for anybody. Okay, how did I do this again? I seem to get the two. It was easier on the bench, right. I got it to this position, held it, and then in this notch here I just kind of levered it in. Oh, and it worked a second time. Maybe, just maybe, I'm getting the hang of this. I'm just going to check that that is thoroughly seated all the way around, and I can't do this without getting my head in. Alright, just push it from the other side, check both ways. Yeah, that's in. Fabulous, that was easier than I expected. Now that the piston's inserted, I'm going to fit the two locating dowels at the bottom of the cylinder. These, I think, just make sure that the cylinder is orientated correctly and there's no wiggle or free play in there. I put a light amount of lubricant on these because I think they do rust over time if they're not protected. Not that I want to take this engine apart again, it's just you never know in the future. This is one of those times where I think a genuine gasket is a must. There's an oil passageway that runs up through the cylinder, and if that doesn't seal properly or is slightly obscured, then you may have oil feed issues to the head. So this slips over the 4 cylinder bolts, and it's got to go underneath the tensioner without letting go of the tensioner so it doesn't rip the gasket, because that would set me back a bit of time. Through the piston, and then the chain's got to go up through it without dropping it, because that would be annoying. Okay, and being a genuine gasket, it fits perfectly straight over the dowels, and the oil jet is not obscured at all, so well worth the $4.99 or whatever that was. So we're on to refitting of the cylinder. This does not need a spring compressor because the outer edges, I don't know if you can see from there, outer edges of the cylinder are chamfered inwards, so they should guide the rings. It's the same design they used on the XL, which worked, but it's a little bit of a nervous moment as you're trying to squeeze them over the rings. So I'm just going to make sure there's plenty of lubricant on both those and on the rings, and being new rings they should be quite sharp as well, so I suspect this won't be the easiest of jobs. This is like a threefold job. I've got the cam chain to deal with, I've got the cam chain tensioner to deal with, and I've got the piston to deal with. This is a prime opportunity for some major swearing. Okay, coming down. That just allows those to hang over, and I'm going to put a heavy clip on those to stop it going back through. Okay, so I don't have to worry about that now. The second bit is the tensioner. Okay, and now we're right into the realms of the piston. Just double check one last time that it's the right way around. Okay, let's see if I can wiggle this in. It always makes a horrible noise when you do this sort of thing. Come on. Felt like one ring, that feels like two rings. He says confidently. We seem to have stopped moving. Okay, we stopped moving. Okay, we've got a bit of a wiggle, that's good. Come on. Oh, there we go. I think we're in. Excellent. Let's just pause there for a second. Okay, those rings are tight on that bore, which I guess is good. Oh, I ran a hone through the bore. There were some scratches. As you can see, this is quite an old cylinder. It's not in perfect condition, so I ran a hone quickly through it, and that seems to have deglazed the bore quite nicely, although some of the deeper scratches are still slightly visible. But like I say, this is a budget build. I'm not in the market for a new cylinder, and as we already had the piston and new rings, I thought I'd give it a go with this. If it fails in the future, then it's a case of a rebore and a new piston, but we'll cross that bridge as and when. Right, we're down. Before I forget to install it, I'm going to fit the cam guide, which just fits in that notch there. There are three more dowels that fit into this engine, this time locating the cylinder head. Being careful that I don't drop them down there. There are two at the front, on the front pegs, and there's a really critical one on the back peg. The one on the back peg has a rubber seal on it, and this is the oil passageway that runs up the outside of this stud at the back here, and the rubber seal is to form a oil seal between the cylinder itself and the cylinder head. Okay, the new aftermarket seal fitted. The old one literally fell off. This one was a nice tight fit, so I feel quite confident about that. Push that down to the seats. Okay, that's as far as that will go. So a quick tour of the top end so far. We've got the piston in the bottom there, sat in a nice pool of oil which doesn't seem to be draining away, which is good. We've got the large cutout for the inlet at the rear and the small at the front. We've got the critical peg with the rubber O-ring in it, which is sitting slightly proud of the cylinder. We've got our cam chain in place. We've got our guides and tensioner in place. Right, I've not tried fitting the aftermarket head gasket yet. Perhaps I should have done, but I haven't. I'm just going around it picking off all the loose flaky bits of gasket that are clinging to it, because I don't want those going through the system. There's quite a lot of it coming off. I won't reiterate my thought on aftermarket gaskets, I only say that for whatever reason these genuine ones weren't available at the time of buying this set. So here we go, so we've got the right orientation, yep, it goes down. First thing to sort out will be the chain. Actually, let's do that first. Don't let go of the chain. Okay, that was easy. Get the chain back out of the way. Right, so let's see how the fit is on this one. Okay, it's a tight fit around the dowels at the front, which is not ideal. I think a Honda one would have just dropped over those. So we're on those, and the seal at the back is just proud. Okay, and the bolt hole at the front is just slightly out of alignment. I'm hoping that's not going to be an issue when it comes to putting the bolt down there, so we'll try that before we do anything else. The thing I want to check first though is just that rubber seal at the back there is proud of the gasket, and it is by a gnat's arse. I guess the gasket will get compressed slightly when we bolt it down, even so. And that was bigger than the original as well, so I'm just hoping this gasket isn't too thick. That should be okay. We'll know if it isn't, because it'll start leaking. I guess it's time now to drop the head on. I'm just running through my mind if there's anything I've forgotten to this point, but I think we're about there. Faff around with these again. Again, the reason for the cable ties is it's easy to hook stuff onto it to weight them down, stop the chain getting dragged away to its doom. Something to hook my thumb into. Okay. I'm sure a piece of string would have done just as well. Okay, next bit, just make sure that that's bent out of the way. Excellent. We're hooked up on something. What are we hooked on? Nothing. It's me. Oh, the whole engine's a bit weeble wobbly now. Right. Put that back on there, keep that out of the way. There we go. Let me get my trusty block of wood out so this doesn't weeble wobble over. Better.